Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Sudarshana Starshine Star. I'm going to begin with the opening prayer. That's pretty standard for me to do. And here we go. Om, 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 Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmahi Sri Guruvena Namaha. Om Suklam Varataram Vishnum Sishivarnam Chatubhujam Prasanavaranam Dhyayi Sarva Vigno Prashantaye. Om Bhur Suvaha Tatsavitur Varinyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm going to do something a little unusual today, but I'm going to read from a few pages from a very slender but valuable book called Meet Your Straw Man and Whatever You Want to Know. And it's published by the www.nationallibertyalliance.org. But you can also get it on Amazon. And in the end, I'll show the cover of the book so you know you're getting the right one. Okay, here we go. Showing a picture of Washington, D.C. That's what this little image is that I'm looking at, the first page of this book. Let's have a little quiz. Who meets there? What do they do there? Do they help you in any way? If your answers were members of the government, they represent all the people living in the country, yes, they create laws to protect me and my family, then let me congratulate you on getting every one of your answers wrong. Didn't do too well on that quiz? Okay, let's have another go. When was slavery abolished? Was slavery legal? Are you in debt to a financial institution? Here are the answers. So I'm going to go back to question number 1, showing a picture of Washington, D.C., the Capitol building. Who meets there? Answer: the serving officers of a commercial corporation. The second question, what do they do there? The answer: they think up ways to take money and goods from you. Question number 3, do they help you in any way? The answer: no, absolutely not. They help themselves and not you. Question number 4, when was slavery abolished? Answer: slavery has never been abolished, and you yourself are considered to be a slave right now. Question number 5, was slavery legal? Answer: yes, slavery is quote-unquote legal, although it is not lawful. You need to discover the difference. Question number 6, are you in debt to a financial institution? Answer: no, you are not in debt to any financial institution. Does this seem a little strange to you? If it does, then read on. Those in power have a big secret. Paying tax is optional. Registering a vehicle is optional. Paying a fine is optional. Attending a court is optional. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. Surprised? Well, try this on for size. Every mortgage and loan is fully repaid from day one. You can pay it again if you want to, but you don't have to. If nobody has told you that you have a straw man, then this could be a very interesting experience for you. Your straw man was created when you were very young, far too young to know anything about it. But then it was meant to be a secret, as its purpose is to swindle you. And it has been used very effectively to do just that ever since it was created. Perhaps it is about time that you learned about your straw man and how you can stop it being used against you. Knowing about it is the most important first step. You need to go on a journey of discovery, and I'm afraid that what you are about to discover is not very pleasant. However, if you decide to act on what you learn, it could change your life for the better. If you think that you are in debt, then you can get out of it if you are willing to stand up for your rights and refuse to be swindled any longer. Interested? If so, then let's start at the beginning and find out where your straw man came from and why you should care about it. It all started when your parents had a happy event and you entered the world. You don't know exactly when that was because you were not aware of the days of the week, the months of the year, or even what year it was. Even after some months had gone by, you were still not aware of these things, but by that time, your straw man had already been created, and it was being used to make some very unscrupulous people rich. None of this was your fault. It happened because your parents were fooled into thinking that they needed to register your birth and get a birth certificate for you. So they applied for a birth certificate, not understanding what would happen when they did. Well then, what did happen? According to the local authority, 1. They lost ownership of their baby, you. 2. They allowed a straw man to be created. This is not something which they can be blamed for, as nobody told them it would or even could happen. Nor did anybody tell your parents what a straw man is or how it can be used against their baby. In actual fact, the quote-unquote registration is a contract, which is in reality null and void because there was no full disclosure by the local authority, nor was there any intent to contract on the part of your parents. Excuse me while I turn this page. The registering of a baby's birth passes ownership of the baby to the local authority, and that alone allows the local authority to take the children away from the parents if they ever want to do that. This applies until the child reaches the age of maturity, quote unquote, set by the current legal statutes. Doing that is not lawful, but after the birth has been registered, it is quote unquote legal. And there is a world of difference between those two terms, a difference which is very important that you clearly come to understand. So, what is a straw man? A straw man is a fictitious legal entity created with the hope that as the child grows up, he will be fooled into believing that he is actually the straw man, which he most definitely is not, and pay all sorts of imaginary costs and liabilities which get attached to the straw man by con artists. How is a straw man created? Well, the mechanism involves that unnecessary birth certificate which the parents imagine is about and belongs to their baby, neither of which is actually true. If the baby has been named James and the family name is Martin, then you would expect the birth certificate to have the name James Martin printed on it. If that is what is printed on it, then all is well and it is a genuine birth certificate and nothing more. However, if any other name is there, then the document is not a birth certificate, but instead is the creation of a straw man masquerading as James Martin. The alternative entries might be any of the following examples. And then this is shown in all caps, and that's important to know, all capital letters. All capitals, James Martin, or Mr. James Martin, or Martin, comma, Mr. James, or anything else which is not exactly James Martin and nothing else. Why create a straw man? The answer is in order to charge the straw man imaginary costs and penalties and fool the human James Martin into paying those amounts. These imaginary charges include income tax, council tax, inheritance tax, capital gains tax, road tax, import tax, value-added tax, fuel levy, loan interest, bank charges, and anything else that full-time professionals can think up and are confident that you will not notice that you never agreed to pay and don't need to pay. Legalese. Legalese is a secret language invented to trick you. It uses English words but attaches secret meanings to those words with the sole intention of stopping you from believing that what they are saying to you has nothing to do with the normal meaning in the English language. Their purpose is to cheat you and rob you. For example, they will ask to you, "Do you understand?" Excuse my camera wiggling so much. "Do you understand?" In English, that means, "Do you comprehend what I'm saying to you?" And the automatic response would be yes, meaning I do comprehend what you are saying to me. But these sneaky, underhand people have changed the meaning in legalese to mean, "Do you stand under me?" Meaning, do you grant me authority over you so that you have to obey whatever I tell you to do? What makes it even worse is the fact that they will never tell you that they have switched from English to legalese. And if that is not dishonest, underhand, and unscrupulous, then I don't know what is. If you answer the question believing that English is being spoken, then they pretend that you are contracting with them to become subordinate to them. Whether or not that is actually true is debatable because that is effectively a verbal contract between you and them. And for any contract to be valid, there has to be full and open disclosure of all of the terms of the contract, and then unreserved acceptance by both parties. And in this case, that has most definitely not occurred. But what is the point in all this? Well, this maneuver is intended to trick you into agreeing to represent your straw man. Why? Now that is a good question. But to answer it takes a bit of explaining, and you need to understand the overall situation. All humans are born equal, with complete freedom of choice and action. If you live in the same place as a lot of other people, then there are a few restrictions which have grown up by common consent over time. These restrictions are for your protection and the protection of other people living near you. These restrictions are called the law, or more accurately, common law, and they are few in number and very easy to understand. They are, number 1, you must not injure or kill anyone. Number 2, you must not steal or damage things owned by someone else. Number 3, you must be honest in your dealings and not swindle anyone. These restrictions have resulted from hundreds of years of disputes, which have been dealt with through using common sense and the opinions of ordinary people. They are the only limitations on you, and if you don't want to abide by them, then you need to go to some isolated place and stay away from other people. Many people think that there are hundreds of other laws which they have to keep, and new ones every other day, but that is not so. Those other things are called quote-unquote statutes, and keeping them is optional for you, the human. But they are not optional for your fictitious straw man. And that is why the people who benefit from these things want to persuade you to represent your straw man, and so become subject to all of their invented restrictions and charges. If you knew that they were optional, would you agree to, number 1, give most of your earnings away in taxes and similar charges? Number 2, pay to own a vehicle? Number 3, pay to own a television set? Number 4, pay to drive on roads which were built with your money? Number 5, be forced to join the armed services if you are told to? Number 6, send an army which is supposed to represent you into another country to murder innocent people there? Were you ever told that these things are optional? If you agree to represent your straw man, then these things become binding on you. These are some of the statutes which politicians keep inventing in order to make you poor, make them and their friends rich, and keep you in a position where you have to do everything they say, no matter how much that harms you and does away with your natural freedoms and rights. But, says somebody, we elect a government to represent us, and so we have to do what they say. After all, they have our best interests at heart, don't they? Well, that is a nice thought, but is it actually true? No, it isn't. You think that you elect politicians to represent you in your government, but that is not what you actually do. That is part of a very carefully fostered illusion, intended to keep you in your place and giving most of your earnings away, typically 80% of all you earn. Part of the secret is that what is supposed to be your government is actually a privately owned, for-profit company, and all that you do when voting is to help choose the serving officers inside that company. It will never make the slightest difference to what happens in the future, as the company policy and actions are controlled by the owners of the company, and they are not influenced in any way whatsoever by what you want. Think this is far-fetched? Then check it out via Dun & Bradstreet or any of the other place which records the setting up and performance of the 160 million commercial companies worldwide. When you do that, you will discover, for example, that the United States is a commercial for-profit company. The United States Corporation is a private company. The non-federal Federal Reserve Bank is a private company set up in the year 1913, as is every court and every police force, and even Congress is a company and not a person. Just in case you are not aware of it, the purpose of any commercial for-profit company or corporation is to make money for its owners and shareholders, if there are any. The people who you think of as the government don't do anything that earns money. They instead take money from you, and their main job is to make sure that you don't realize that they are in the same position as IBM, which takes away millions of your money every year. So why all the pretense of there being a genuine government which you elect and who serves you? They don't want you to understand that they are just running a company which produces nothing of any worth, something like a betting shop where almost every customer loses money, and wake up to the fact that, unlike what you have been told all of your life, this is all optional. And you don't need to play their rip-off game any longer unless you want to. They want you to be so burdened down with paying them money and working so hard and so long that you don't have the time, money, or energy to stop and think about what is happening to you and your family. They are desperate to stop you from just walking away from their scam. So they make every effort to connect you with the fiction, which is your straw man, because fictitious entities like commercial companies can't have any dealings with a real man or a real woman. They can only deal with another fiction, like your straw man. And it is essential that they fool you into believing that you have to act on behalf of your straw man, which you don't. They have a number of well-proven methods of distracting you and keeping you from finding out. They want you to see a great deal of entertainment, not because there is anything wrong with entertainment, but while you are being entertained, you will not be asking awkward questions. Also, they are very careful that most entertainment reinforces their make-believe world and makes it appear to be the real world, where everyone is under the government. Police officers uphold the law, taxes are essential in order to keep things going, and things which are said to be bad for you are taxed heavily, not to make money, but supposedly to encourage you to avoid those things. You will notice that they keep saying that their invented statutes are the law, which they most certainly are not. But if they say it often enough, people start believing it and never think to question what they say. They also have another very effective technique, and that is fear. They want you to be afraid. Afraid of imaginary terrorists, afraid of disasters, afraid of new diseases, afraid of foreign countries, afraid of the economy, quote unquote, doing badly, and inflation rising. If you doubt this, then take a look at the news and count the number of positive, uplifting news items and the number of negative or depressing news items. It doesn't take much in the way of research to see the very heavy negative bias in the news. The reason behind this is to make you feel that you need a government and an army to protect you from those supposed dangers. It is easy to keep the news items biased that way because all of the major news agencies and media outlets in the world are owned by only 5 or 6 privately owned commercial companies. So to supposedly connect you to the straw man which they created for you when your birth was registered, they use the legalese technique of conning you with the name of the straw man. If you are ill-advised enough to go to a court, which is a corporate place of business, as quote-unquote the accused, you will be asked to confirm your name, quoting the full name shown on your birth certificate, which is the, and this is in all caps, legal personality. Titles such as Mr., Doctor, Reverend, Governor, Secretary, or whatever are not asked for as they are not required. The quote-unquote accused is actually the, and this is in all caps, legal personality, which is the name on the birth certificate. So that when they ask for the person's name, in all caps, they are talking to the, in all caps, legal personality, the straw man, and not to the human. This is because a human cannot exist in the legal world. Only pieces of paper can, and that is something which they are very careful not to tell you. This is a really key issue. Natural law and common law are the only laws which apply to humans, and they deal only with harming other people or causing them loss. And outside of those restrictions, a human has free and unlimited entitlement to do anything he chooses which complies with these principles. As opposed to this, acts of Congress, quote-unquote statutes, and statutory instrument, quote-unquote contracts, do not apply to the human, but only to the piece of paper, which is the, and this is in all caps, legal personality, which has no reality. As the legal fiction, the, in all caps, legal personality, was created by the company called, and this is in all caps, the United States Corporation. That company gets to say what the rights and duties for that piece of paper are. When a person is born in America, the mother and father submit a birth certificate registration form, which is a piece of paper. There is no requirement under common law to do this. When any limited company or corporation is set up, there is always a certificate of registration in order to create its, and this is in all caps, legal personality, and that is a piece of paper. Please note that an American birth certificate states quite clearly that it is not evidence of identity, meaning that it has nothing to do with any human. Marked on it is the U.S. copyright, showing clearly that it does not belong to an individual and was created by the state. This act of This act of registering a child makes that child a ward of the court, and the child can be taken away from the parents at any time. The legalese definition of words which sound commonplace can be found in Black's Law Dictionary, and the current edition is the 8th. Interestingly, in legalese, you, the human, are defined as a quote-unquote monster, which shows exactly what the people who use legalese think of you. Charming people, aren't they? Another trick they try to play on you is to imply that a summons is something which you must obey, while in fact, it is only an invitation to attend their place of business. They are not inviting you, the man or woman, but instead they are inviting the, in all caps, legal personality to their place of business. And please note that there is a choice, as it is only an invitation. The legal personality, in all caps, is just a piece of paper, a birth certificate, in all caps, created by the commercial company called the United States Corporation, and it is not the human. You can't be forced into a contract, so they have to deceive you into entering into one without understanding what you are doing. They are using deception, as every judge's court is a trading name of the commercial company called the Department of Justice, which does not have a parent company listed, meaning that it is a parent company itself. Legal people, on being shown this company registration, respond by realizing that if this information is genuine, which it is, then the U.S. has been lawless for more than 100 years because the whole justice system is being dealt with by a commercial company. Going to court in connection with any civil action is a very bad idea, as the only function of a court is to judge between two parties who disagree and then penalize the loser. The court doesn't care who wins or loses, and the objective of the court is to make a profit for its owners, as it is a commercial enterprise and its purpose is to acquire money from anybody who is foolish enough to attend. If you look at the summons, which is really an invitation to go to court, you will see that it is not in your name, but in the name of the straw man, which they are hoping to fool you into representing. All right, that's all I'm going to read for today in this section. The next section that I will pick up on in the next clip will be called Dealing with Debt. So I forgot to mention what is being pictured here, and I will let you know it is a picture of Mahalakshmi, who is the aspect of Mother Divine, which really deals with us in blessing us with what I call, and what's been called, it's not my term, the 200% life. That means 100% success in spirituality and 100% success in living here as a human in the material world. Both are necessary. And this little murti, this little statue that you see here, placed in front of the image of Mahalakshmi, is Lord Balaji, or he's also called Sri Venkateshwara. And you can see him most clearly in the most wealthy sacred temple in India, in Tirupati. So I place that here in honor of them to guide and protect and watch over all the matters that are being discussed here. So I really encourage you. Now let me just show you this book here. This is what it is. It's right there. You can get it on Amazon, as I did. I'm wishing you greatest blessings and knowledge and wisdom, and really the 200% life for you and yours. I'm going to use the closing prayer now to end out this clip. And what it means when I sing it is blessings and well-being to all beings in all worlds. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bye-bye for now. God bless.